Our featured talent in this episode of The Fearmakers launched his career in the West making a low-budget horror thriller to secure backing for his more avant-garde projects. The film he made not only earned lots of money, but critical raves and a top spot in the pantheon of the screen's most powerful shockers. Join us as we examine the amazing career of Roman Polansky.
Roman Polansky is one of my favorite filmmakers.
Well, Roman Polansky, in my opinion, is the greatest living film director there is right now.
I think Roman Polansky's a genius, one of the best filmmakers we have in the world.
When I was in film school, I watched all his movies, and he's just terrific. He's an incredible visual director.
I really love his work. I've always been very impressed by him.
Polansky's movies have that sense of reality, you know, but putting you into a situation that is very, very nightmarish but very real at the same time.
He's Jewish, and he was in Poland during the big persecution of the Jewish. The Jewish persecution in Poland was something unforgettable, something really disaster, incredible, and he survived this.
He's a man with a lot of pain.
I think he suffered a lot.
He's escaped the Nazis in World War II. And he's got a lot, you know. His wife was murdered in a very famous murder here in California, the Manson family. And he's a man with a lot of pain and a lot of talent and a lot of genius.
Roman Polansky was born in Paris in 1933 to Polish-Jewish parents. The family returned to Poland and settled in Krakow when Polansky was 3. When the Nazis invaded Poland, Polansky's parents were imprisoned in a concentration camp, where his mother perished. The young Polansky, meanwhile, had escaped into the Polish countryside to live out the war, hidden by strangers. After the war, Polansky earned a living by becoming a child performer in radio. This led him into the theater, where he worked as an actor, stage manager, and jack-of-all-trades for several years. His earnings, as well as financial support from his father, enabled him to enter the National Film School at Lodz, one of the best training grounds for aspiring filmmakers in the world. Polansky's award-winning thesis project was a surrealistic short subject called Two Men and a Wardrobe, made in 1958. He followed up this success with a series of short films in a similar vein. As his reputation in the Polish film industry began to grow, Polansky seized the opportunity to make his first feature-length film, Knife in the Water.
I just was so uncomfortable with Knife in the Water, I had to walk out. I just couldn't bear sitting through it. Probably the only movie I walked out on because it was so well done.
A tense thriller about a romantic triangle, Knife in the Water brought Polansky the international attention he was seeking. It was shown at the first New York Film Festival and nominated for a 1962 Academy Award as Best Foreign Film. The Iron Curtain had lifted enough to allow Polansky to attend the Oscar ceremonies in Hollywood. Roman Polansky earned his reputation as a master fearmaker with his first English-language film, Repulsion.
Repulsion, I mean, I think that was the first movie of his that really grabbed me.
Repulsion was one of the best films of the decade.
Overtones of fantasy and the horrific can be found in all the short films Polansky made in and out of film school. Likewise, a growing preoccupation with the themes of isolation and alienation. Polansky rolled all these elements together in Repulsion to create one of the most disturbing tales of mental breakdown and psychological terror ever filmed. Repulsion was strongly influenced by Hitchcock's Psycho and Michael Powell's Peeping Tom, but it broke significant new ground of its own, notably in its chilling denial of an explanation for the mental collapse and descent into homicidal madness of the main character, played by Catherine Deneuve.
Repulsion came out in, like, I don't know, 1965, and it was pretty much of a revelation because there'd been a lot of movies about crazy people and Psycho and all that, but here was a movie that really took you inside somebody, so that by the end of the movie, you get some kind of insight, spurious as it may be, into what it might be like to be crazy. And for just sheer insanity and fear of losing your mind, the images in Repulsion, the cracked walls and the hands and the dreams that she has at night and the people glimpsed in mirrors and doorways and stuff are really creepy and scary and powerful.
We are left frighteningly in the dark, like Catherine Deneuve herself. In the end, no cozy psychiatrist shows up to explain it all, to tidily exorcise the chaos we have experienced through Deneuve's eyes.
Capturing the sort of inner workings of a person who's going mad, you know, to be able to really put that into visual terms, which is quite extraordinary.
To be with you all the time.
All of Polansky's work revolves around the pathological inability of his characters to understand one another and engage in normal human interaction. So fascinating, all-pervasive, and upfront are these thematic obsessions that Polansky's skill as a filmmaker is often overlooked in assessments of his work. But it is his power as a filmmaker which allows his themes to be delivered with such discomforting force. Polansky followed Repulsion with the sinister suspense comedy Cul-de-sac. Polansky had hoped the film would increase his chances of being invited to make a film in Hollywood. Cul-de-sac was a success with the critics, but a box office failure. So Polansky returned to the commercial genre that had served him so well, the horror film. A fan of Hammer Films' Gothic horror movies and the British studio's Brides of Dracula in particular, Polansky decided to have a go at a Gothic vampire film himself, but with a twist.
Who says vampires are no laughing matter? They certainly are.
It would provide audiences the traditional chills and thrills they expected of such films, but be a parody of them as well. The film was called Dance of the Vampires in Europe, but retitled The Fearless Vampire Killers in the United States.
Fearless Vampire Killers. Funny stuff, and very arty, and very wonderful.
In addition to its status as a successful parody, The Fearless Vampire Killers broke new ground in vampire film lore by tackling issues that had always been sidestepped. For example, what effect would a crucifix have in staving off a Jewish vampire?
The Fearless Vampire Killers. Or, pardon me, but your teeth are in my neck. Jack McGarrett. Sharon Tate. Alfie Bass. Freddie Main. And Terry Downs.
Although The Fearless Vampire Killers was not a box office hit in America, its success elsewhere in the world attracted the attention of Hollywood he'd hoped for, and Polansky embarked for the States to join forces with fellow filmmaker William Castle and make his first Hollywood film, the critical and popular hit Rosemary's Baby. Polansky wrote the screenplay himself from Ira Levin's best-selling novel about devil worship in modern times.
I had a shot at doing the screenplay for that. I met with William Castle, and he was going to use me to do the screenplay, which I'd have loved to do. But then he hired Polansky to direct, and Polansky, at that time, I guess, insisted on doing, and you know, as he had every right to, and he did a wonderful job. It's a marvelous, and the subtlety of that thing. It's a wonderful, wonderful picture, and you know, first class all the way.
Rosemary's Baby, you know, I think that is my favorite. Before I did Reanimator, I watched Rosemary's Baby about 20 times, and because I needed to figure out how he shot that film.
Polansky obviously had quite a macabre streak, because Rosemary's Baby is also just a terrific, very, I mean, it's one of the best realized books I've ever seen on the screen. I mean, when I read the book and I saw the movie, it was almost always there's amazing differences, but in this it was literally the book. He had filmed the book and made it real, and also gave it an everyday quality of characterization and the way people talked and everything that made you believe that it could actually be happening. which was when I did The Howling. I mean, it was really quite an inspiration to think that, look, here's a guy who took all of this mumbo-jumbo and brought it right into New York City in the 1960s and made you think that it was happening right now. And it was kind of a template, I think, for everybody who's ever tried to make a contemporary horror picture.
And what he did in that movie, and he does in most of his films, is he gives them a very subjective quality. He makes you feel that this is really happening to you. And he does it in the way that the movie's shot.
Rosemary, Guy, the Bramford, the girl, the dead girl, the neighbors, the friend, the dead friend, the nightmare, the doctor, the vicious nightmare, the other doctor, the truth, the baby. Poor baby. Whose baby? Pray. Pray for Rosemary's baby.
Its vivid depiction of satanic ritual was the source of an uproar in the media and by the public.
Rosemary Baby, the woman, young housewife, being lied to, carrying the devil's baby. I mean, that's a frightening concept.
As a premier fearmaker and as an artful commercial director, Roman Polansky's name was made. In the wake of the stunning success of Rosemary's Baby, real-life tragedy intruded into Polansky's world when his wife, actress Sharon Tate, and some friends were brutally murdered by the notorious Manson family. After several years of creative silence, Polansky's cinematic response was an uncompromisingly bloody adaptation of Shakespeare's Macbeth.
My name's Macbeth. Stars, hide your fires. Let not light see my black and deep desires.
Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. Leave all the rest to me.
At the time of its release, most critics were unable to see the film as anything but a reflection of the Manson murders.
Hail Macbeth! Hail Macbeth! Hail King of Scotland! Macbeth does murder sleep. Macbeth shall sleep no more.
All hail Macbeth. All hail Macbeth. All hail Macbeth.